Hello everyone, this is Dave from Dave's Recent Things. Alright, my channel is called Dave's Recent Things, and I'm going to say 99.9% of the time I do wreaths on my channel. I love doing wreaths, I think they are so much fun, I love being creative with them, but occasionally I do have somebody saying, hey, what about the and things of your name? Today, we're going to concentrate on doing 5 Scarecrow DIYs that don't involve wreaths. They're fun, they're easy to do, and let me just say I was smiling the entire time doing these 5 projects. Why don't I just get started and I'll show you what I made. Today I'm going to use a slew of materials including fabrics, ribbon, raffia, buttons, Sharpies. I'm going to use some craft sticks, florals, twine, acrylic paints, paintbrushes. And for this DIY, I'm going to use some paintbrushes. These are just various sizes I got from the dollar store, along with some wooden beads. And of course, my regular crafting utensils to create the first DIY. I'm going to start with my paintbrushes, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to take some sandpaper and just sand the top portion. There's some sort of film on it, like a shellac or something, and I just want to get that off before I paint the tops of my paintbrushes. So I'm not taking it all the way down to the wood, but I am scruffing it up a lot. And then I'm going to take this dark brown color and a paintbrush, and then I'm just going to paint that wooden portion of our paintbrush. I only do about 1 coat. That's all I really wanted. I didn't want a solid color. I wanted it to look kind of worn or old or whatever. So I just did that 1 coat on there, and I make sure to get the sides and inside that hole as well. Once that's all dry, I'm just going to take some cotton rope and my hot glue gun, and I'm going to wrap it around that gold or brass portion that holds the bristles in place. I want to cover that all up, so the first one I'm going to do is just wrap it around with that cotton rope, cut the excess off, glue that down, and then once that's all done, I'm going to wrap some right around the top portion, just covering that hole, and I'm going to use my hot glue gun to wrap that all the way around. Cut the excess off, and then I just decided I'm going to create just a little bow, so I'm just tying a really simple knot here using that cotton rope, cutting the excess off, and then we're just going to glue that right on top just to finish that top off a little bit. Take some of those fall florals apart. I'm going to use some sunflowers, some wheat, and I'm just going to glue that right onto that cotton rope right there at the side, just to create a little bit of interest, a little bit of pizzazz. I love interest and I love pizzazz on my channel. And to finish this all off, we're going to grab one of those wooden beads. I just got these off of Temu, and I'm just going to glue that right in the center to create our first little scarecrow gnome, if you will. This second one, instead of wrapping the cotton around the brass portion, I'm going to use this orange plaid ribbon. This just comes from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just using my hot glue down, and I'm doing a couple of layers of that to cover it up. And then what I'm going to do is I took a craft stick. This is a large craft stick, painted it brown, cut off the edges. We're going to glue that right at the bottom portion, and then I'm just going to create a really quick finger bow. You can find this tutorial right on my channel. Just type in tiny bow and you can figure out that video, and you can find that video. We're going to glue that at the top, and then I have my little bag o' buttons. I love this bag of buttons. I know we probably all have one, and I'm just going to find some buttons to glue right in the center there, and that kind of creates that top portion. Grab some leaves that I like, and just odds and ends. And of course, we're going to go back to that bag o' buttons. You're going to see that a lot today. Grab a couple more buttons just to finish off that little extra there on the left-hand side. And our finishing touch, grabbing that nose, which is our wooden bead, and gluing it on there. And here we go. We have our 2 paintbrush gnomes. Kind of scarecrowy though. That's the theme today. All done for our first Scarecrow DIY. For our second one, we're going to use the Dollar Tree cutting board. This is just made out of wood. I have some florals that were laying around in my stash. I have some twine and some rope that we're going to use as well, along with orange, brown, tan, and black acrylic paints, and my regular crafting utensils to create DIY number 2. I'm first going to start off with our cutting board and that same brown paint I used right at the beginning. And for this, I'm just going to paint the top side. So you can see I did it on an angle. That's my choice. You can do it straight across if you want. I just decided to do it on an angle. I'm going to make sure to paint the sides of our cutting board and that little hole right on the inside as well, just to make sure everything's covered and finished. We're going to let that fully dry. Once it's all dry, I have it here. I'm just going to take white acrylic pens. Now you can use paintbrush paint if you want. I decided to bring out my acrylic pens. I really do love working with these and I haven't used them for years. And I'm going to create our eyes. You can see this is the white of the eyes. And then I'm going to come in and use orange for our nose. We're going to let that fully dry before we continue on. And then I'm going to take black. You can use a Sharpie for this as well. I'm using an acrylic pen. Doesn't mean you have to. Sharpies work just as fine. And I'm going to create the eyes and I'm going to outline the eyes, eyebrow, the nose, and of course here is our funky little mouth on our little scarecrow. It just makes me smile. And we're going to let that completely dry. Then I'm going to come in with that cotton rope. We used this previously, and I'm going to just attach that on the wooden cutting board. Just using my hot glue and some scissors, chopping off the excess, and I wanted to put it on an angle, so that is why I did that paint on an angle. You can do it straight across if you want. I just decided to do it on an angle to add a little bit of interest. Cut off the excess, glue that down, and we are done that step. Now I'm going to take some wheat from my floral picks. I'm going to take some flowers. I'm going to take some leaves. And of course, I'm going to take some of this grass as well, just cutting off a little bit of that. And I'm going to start gluing everything down, kind of layering it, if you will. I'm using the larger pieces at the back and then kind of gluing in that wheat with the hot glue gun and then spacing out those grasses. Glue some more wheat down, just kind of building it up to see where I want it to go and how I want it to look. And our final step is to grab one of those florals, which is a little yellow daisy, add some glue there and place it right there. And boom, our cutting board scarecrow is all done, ready for display. Look at that face. I know I've said it a lot, but I just love it and it makes me smile. And I hope all these scarecrow smiles make you smile as well. And we are done with our DIY number 2. Moving on to number 3. For this project, I am using the Tumbling Tower game, some fabrics, and these both come from the Dollar Tree. I'm using some raffia that was in my stash, some fall florals as well, and of course I'm going to use that Bago buttons is coming back along with some twine in different sizes and my regular crafting utensils to create this project. I am starting off creating a scarecrow using the wooden blocks. Now I have a total of 19 here and we're going to create a full body scarecrow. Total again is 19 pieces. Here is all the pieces laid out. You can take a screenshot of this for your reference. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start using the hat and creating the blocks, or sorry, using the blocks to create the hat. And all I'm doing is I'm gluing 3 of them side by side, and then I'm gluing short ends 2 of them, and then I'm going to glue the 3 pieces on top of that to create our little hat. I'm going to place that to the side. I'm going to create the face using 3 pieces, again gluing on the long side just like we did with the hat beginning, and place that to the side. And now I'm going to create the body. So we do the exact same thing we've done previously with the 3 blocks, gluing them on the long side, holding it together until it's nice and secure. And now I'm going to take 2 other blocks, and these are going to be my arms. So I'm just adding a little bit of glue right at the top there, having the arm kind of come out just a little bit, And then I'm going to do the other arm and do kind of the same thing, not as far out, but that will be the torso with the arms of our little scarecrow. Now I'm going to create the upper legs, and what I'm going to do with one of the blocks is I'm just going to cut that right in half. So I'm cutting 2 blocks today. One of them, which is this one, I'm cutting in half. Then I'm going to use another block and cut that into a third. So I'm cutting off 1/3 of this block. And we're going to use that one for our thighs. So we're going to glue one block that's full, and then we're going to use that block we cut into thirds, glue another block that's the full one, and then those half ones, we're going to glue them perpendicular to 2 other full length blocks. Then we're going to take that, glue that perpendicular to our thighs, and that's going to create the legs and a sitting motion for our scarecrows. So you can see here I have all 4 pieces ready to go. I have the hat, the face, the torso, and I'm holding the legs. I'm going to place it kind of together for you. You can kind of see how it's going to work out. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take various colors, and then I'm just going to paint all 4 pieces. You see here I'm adding a little bit of brown to that pink just to tone it down a little bit. I didn't want like a bright pink. I did the same for the green. I'm painting the green on the legs of our scarecrow. The orange will be on the torso. Once that is all painted, I'm going to put that to the side. And then I'm just going to let that fully dry before I continue. And then I'm going to take my paintbrush and some white paint. And like I did before, I'm going to paint the eyes and I'm going to paint the nose. Let that completely dry. I'll add some pink cheeks on there. Of course, why not? Once it's all dry, I'm going to take a Sharpie and I'm going to create our little scarecrow face. So I'm just outlining everything with that Sharpie. I'm going to go in, create a little mouth as well. And then I'm going to go in and create our little eyeballs as well. And for the hair, I'm just using some twine that I unraveled, tied a knot right at the top, and then I'm just going to glue them on each side of our face to create that beautiful head. And I'm going to do a little skirt on this one here, so I am just using my hot glue gun and some fabric to create some ruffles, and then I'm just going to glue that right at the bottom portion all the way around of our legs. Then I'm just going to tie some little bows. These are just little knots that I've created, nothing fancy here, and then I'm just going to glue them on each shoe for our little pizzazz, because we have to have a little pizzazz, and I'm going to glue another one on there as well. And now it comes time to putting it all together. We're going to put the hat right on top there, and then before I glue our torso in, I'm going to grab a couple of my buttons, glue those on the torso. I'm going to zhuzh up our hat with a little bit of that ribbon that I used previously and some hot glue, and of course some of those floral picks that I've cut into little pieces. Add a little flower on the top just to finish that hat off. And now we're going to put it all together. And first I'm going to add some more of that ribbon right around the wrists just to add a little bit of pizzazz there. And I'm just going to use some more raffia that I gathered together to form the hands of our little scarecrow. And I'm going to do that on both sides of our torso. Now it comes time to put everything together. We're going to glue the torso onto our legs. We're going to glue the head onto our torso. And then we're just going to let that fully dry. And once it's all dry, we have our beautiful little scarecrow done. And of course, I made her a little fella as well. I had so much fun. I made 2 of them and I'm loving how they turned out. Again, they just make me smile. I was smiling all day long creating these crafts. We have that male and female. And of course, I made little chairs for them as well. So we can just sit them on there, prop them up together, pretending they're on their front porch. Here is the layout for our chair. It's a total of 16 pieces. Again, you can take a screenshot. Here's how it looks all put together. And very quickly, I'll show you, I'm using the pieces and I'm gluing the long ends together. So for the seat, I'm gluing all those long ends together using my hot glue gun, just like we did before. And then I'm just going to add some hot glue on the corners, and we're going to put those blocks perpendicular to create the legs of our bench. And once you're all done that, it looks like a table. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take two pieces again on the long side, glue them at the edges, and that'll create the armrests for our little chair. Now taking more pieces, gluing together the short ends, and then creating those three back rests that we can use as support or backing of our chair. And then we're going to add some more hot glue, glue that right to the back side, and whammo, your chair is all done for your little scarecrows. And of course, I just love this. I made two of them. And here they are all set up in their chair with their hats, with their beautiful buttons, and of course those twine laces. And she has her little flannel skirt on and those little daisies in their hair with those smiles. This is all set up in my kitchen. It's not the greatest lighting, but I just love how these looked on my counter. And of course, if you don't want to make the chairs, you can just throw them on your windowsill as well to add a little fall decor using scarecrows in your windowsill. And of course, we have our materials all laid out here, and we're going to use some more of those leftover tumbling blocks. These are in the two different colors, and here we are. I have 3 pieces of the natural and 5 pieces of the dark brown. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the dark brown aside, and I'm going to glue together just like we did before the 3 long pieces. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue together 3 of the dark brown ones the exact same way, and we're going to create a hat again, this time using the same method, gluing the short pieces together. I'm going to cut some raffia up, and that's going to be used for the straw coming out of the hat, or the hair, if you will, of the scarecrow. Now I'm going to glue those 2 pieces together that we just created, add some more hot glue on there with the raffia, just kind of hanging off to the side. I'm going to do that on both sides, and then I'm going to glue that extra piece that we glued together right on top to create the hat and the face of our scarecrow. Now we're going to paint on some eyes with our white paint and a paintbrush. Again, you can use your acrylic paint pens if you have those. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to add little triangles for their little nose in orange. And once that is all dry for all of them, I'm going to come in with my Sharpie and I'm going to create and outline our faces. So I'm outlining the eyes, outlining the nose, creating a fun little smile, and then going in and filling in those eyes. And for the last steps, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some more of my materials, the ribbons, etc. And of course, that bag o' buttons is the star of the show today. And I'm going to add some buttons on there as well. Now, I did a variety of these little guys because I just had so much fun making them. I think I made 6 in total. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some magnets. These are just from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to glue them right on the back side. Because why? I'm going to stick these little guys on my fridge as fridge magnets for the holidays. Look at all of them here. I am just beaming from ear to ear because these faces just make me smile. And I know I've said it 10 times in this video, and I'll probably say it 10 more times, but I just had so much fun making this. Here they are on my fridge. Don't mind my to-do list on the right side there. Concentrate on our little scarecrows on our fridge, just made out of Dollar Tree wooden blocks. Our final DIY for our scarecrows, again, we're going to use all of those regular materials I showed earlier, plus some of these clay pots that I found at the dollar store. And what I'm going to do first is I'm just laying down some paint right at the top of the rim. So I'm using blue, green, brown, and orange today, and I'm going to paint all 4 pots at the rim, just a different color, and just using my paintbrush and acrylic paints. Then I'm going to go in with those acrylic pens again, creating those eyes first with the white, and then I'm going to come back in creating the noses with my orange. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take various contrasting colors and paint over with the rim. So here I'm just adding some dots. You can see later on I'm adding some squiggly lines with purple. Have fun with it. It doesn't matter if it's right or wrong or looks good or not. As long as you're having fun, that's the main thing. Then I'm going to take some black and do our outlines again, creating those eyes, creating that nose, and then of course creating that big smile right at the end that I just love. And you can hear me, I'm smiling right now because these guys just make me so happy. Guess what? That bag of buttons is back again, and I'm just adding some little finishing touches on each of my clay pots here to create these fun, whimsical little scarecrows. And you can use these for plants, for fake flowers or faux flowers. You can put your pens in there or your paint brushes in there, whatever you want, just a little something to add. And here are all of our crafts from today. We have our wooden block game scarecrows, our clay pots, that cutting board, and of course our little gnome scarecrows made out of the paint brushes, and my favorite is those fridge magnets. Just all of them together makes me smile so much, and I hope you smiled throughout this video as well. Thank you so much for joining me today. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be notified whenever I upload a new project. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye for now.